Welcome to the Fertility Podcast. I'm Natalie Silverman, your host. I've been using my voice in my work for about 15 years now. I used to be on the radio. Now I'm podcasting and do a lot of voiceover work. Now, the Fertility Podcast has a whole host of episodes for you, from adenomyosis to zero sperm. It's total A to Z of all sorts of things that affect you on your fertility journey. I'm mum to a little boy called Phoenix after having successful ICSI treatment, and that was my reason for starting the podcast. And I hope that if you found us, then you'll realise that you are not alone. This podcast is to help educate and empower you. I brought together as many experts and tried to share as many of your stories as possible. And I now have my wonderful co-host.
I'm Kate Davis, a fertility nurse consultant, and I'm adamant that we can all do so much better at understanding our fertility. I'm really passionate about teaching you to take ownership of your fertility, teaching you practical steps, emotional coping strategies, and lifestyle changes that you can make to hopefully optimise your chances of conceiving.
Now you know who we are. All you need to do is enjoy the show. So we're back once again from the Renegade Master. How are you, Kate?
I'm good, thank you. Busy. It's crazy beginning of the year. Everyone keeps asking me, how was my Christmas? But it just seems like ages ago now that I can't really think about that.
Are you still saying Happy New Year to people?
I've stopped now. I think we're done with that.
Nobody's really said it to me for a while, so I think you're possibly right. Because we're talking mid-January. We're probably sharing this at the end of Jan. So yeah, we're done. We're in it. We're
done.
into 2020.
We've moved on. How about you? How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I've had a really weird thing going on with my nose. I've had like one really blocked, flowing. That's a bit of a contradiction, but it's been a blocked nose that I've been able to blow constantly. It's very strange. Sinusy. So I've been having some sinus medicine. Very exciting.
And have you been gargling?
Why should I gargle?
Will that help? Well, I don't know. It might help. It's the whole thing, isn't it? It's not just your nose. It's a whole viral infection.
Oh, I didn't think I had an infection.
Well, as a broadcaster, you must know which are the best throat sweets to.
Oh yeah, I do. But
Which ones are they?
Well, it depends what's going on, because there's I can't remember the name. I got a really good one recently that I gave to my mum that were for members of parliament as well as actors. There's one called Vocal Zone, which lots of actors use, but it actually numbs your throat. But there's this other one I've got. I can't remember for the life of me. I'll find it and I'll put it on the show notes.
A little while ago when I was in a choir, like a groovy, funky choir, not a
rock choir.
It wasn't the rock choir, but it was a similar type of thing. In fact, it was a military wives choir.
Not the military wives choir.
It was a throw-off of that. It wasn't actually. Just in case anyone's listening.
Yeah.
Our kind of musical director, she wouldn't let us drink milk or have tea before we started singing.
And why is that, Kate? What have you learned about having milk before you're doing broadcasting?
Because it can make you claggy, is that right?
Yeah, claggy mouth.
Kind of dairy. Yeah.
Don't want claggy mouth.
So you'll be pleased to know I've not had any tea or milk or
well done.
Sparkling water next to me.
Anyway, we digress. So Kate and I have had a little break over kind of Christmas and the start of the new year, because we really wanted to take stock on what the podcast has been doing for you and kind of dig a bit deeper in what the podcast can continue to do for you. Now, if you were listening to now, what you will have heard us do before, which we're going to continue to do, is our Meet the Makers series, which is when we love hearing about you if you have created something as a result of your fertility struggles, because it's like the good that comes out of the bad, and there's so many different ways that this can manifest itself. We've talked to Tom and Katie, who made socks, didn't we? We talked to Natalie with her beautiful IVF journals.
And Caroline with her biscuits.
Caroline with the biscuits. There's such lovely ways, and we know that there's such an amazing community, especially on Instagram, for people to kind of talk about their wares and sell their wares, so to speak. And what you're going to hear today is a chat that I had with a lovely lady called Lucy, who is mother of one on Instagram, and she has created the Rainbow Running Club. Now, Kate, were you already following Lucy before you heard the chat?
No, I wasn't. So I obviously now am, but I'm absolutely fascinated by this. And I really want to speak to her because I want to get her to come to my area because it sounds amazing.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that Lucy is setting up these running clubs all over. She came to Manchester. She actually came to my house, which is what you're going to hear. And you'll hear her explain what the plans are for the running club. And as she came to my house, Kate wasn't here. So Kate is going to have a listen with you to the episode, and then she's going to tell us what she thinks. So if you want a cup of tea right now, feel free. If you're on the move, then all the details of how you can get in touch with Lucy will be at the end. But if you've been wanting to maybe find some like-minded ladies that you can go running with, then this is exactly what you need to hear. Here's Lucy now. So it is the most yucky Sunday morning, and I've got a guest in my front room. Lucy from the Rainbow Running Club, welcome to my house.
Thank you very much for having me.
So Lucy's up in Manchester to do one of her runs, which we're going to talk a bit more about. This is all part of my Meet the Makers series, and I'm quite delighted that you've come to me. I was hoping to come and do the run, but the timing is I've got a children's party, and that's the big present, wrapped in a baby shark paper next to you. But the Meet the Makers series is about people that have created something as a result of what they've been through, and I've seen you on Instagram, and we'll talk about the Instagram community and the power of that, and reached out and I saw bits and bobs that was going on, and I'm so pleased that I've got to meet you in the flesh, because it doesn't always happen.
Me too.
So just start with you. Tell me a bit more about you and what's gone on, and then we can talk about what you're doing now. I love the little sparkly top. About all of that. So what led you to be sat in front of me here?
So our story started 5 years ago when we decided that we wanted to start having a family, and we fell pregnant quite quickly, but I had a miscarriage at 7 weeks, and then nothing. 2 years of nothing happening. We had all the tests, they couldn't find any reason why, but we went down the IVF route because they couldn't understand why I wasn't getting pregnant naturally. And on our second attempt of IVF, we had our daughter, so we were really fortunate.
And did you get funding for your treatment?
No, we didn't.
Right, so self-funded.
We got to the 2 year mark, which was the point we needed to be at to qualify, and then they changed the rules in our area.
Right.
It had to be 3 years, and by that point we didn't want to wait any longer, so we decided to go private.
So you're still unexplained?
Yes, still unexplained. So we found a lovely clinic, went to them. Our first round of IVF, I got ovarian hyperstimulation, so we had to freeze all of our embryos, and then when I was better we did a frozen cycle and I got pregnant, so that was amazing.
Just tell me a bit about the OHSS. How poorly were you?
I blew up like a balloon. I couldn't eat anything, I couldn't drink anything. I was in such agony and I couldn't move, and they said that if they went ahead and transferred the embryo and I got pregnant, it would continue and it would get worse.
Did you know much about it at the time it happened?
No, I didn't, and I knew it was something that might possibly happen, but I wasn't at risk of it happening.
Yeah.
They didn't expect it to happen, so they were quite surprised by it as well.
And how long were you poorly?
It took a good month for my body to go back to normal.
Work and...
Yeah, well, at this point I was at home, so I was really grateful for that, because it meant that I could just go back to normal.
In bed?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I just couldn't move. I was in such pain.
And so what do you have to do?
I just had to have anti-sickness injections, and then just drink lots and just rest and wait for everything to recover. So I knew that it wasn't the right time to go ahead with the transfer, because I was scared.
Because I think OHSS, we talk about it more, but I still don't think we talk about it enough. And the people that have kind of had it, it's been such a shock. And I know, like you say, you weren't at risk, and I know it's hard for the clinics to know. Well,
Yes.
I think the certain criteria that mean that women are at risk, but I think we need to have more conversation about the impact of it, and just that awareness of, because it's so debilitating, isn't it?
It is, and I didn't expect that, and I was really frightened, because I expected to feel a bit bloated afterwards, but I couldn't lay down. Like all my organs were squashed.
So it's a reaction, is it?
Yes, it's a reaction. So when they remove the eggs from the ovaries, the sacs that they were in then fill with fluid. So both of my ovaries are like the size of grapefruits.
Gosh.
And then obviously all that fluid in your body is just putting so much pressure, and the pain. So I was just like...
Is it constant pain, or could the pain...
No,
right, so there's no pain relief?
Not really, because as well, I wasn't sure if I was going to go ahead with the transfer, so you have to keep up all the hormones and everything. So we got to day 5, when it would have been my transfer day, and I went in and we all decided that it wasn't the right time to go ahead. Because I just thought, I can't eat or drink, this isn't the right environment.
Yeah, I want to be in a good place.
Yeah, this isn't the right environment. So I was really, really upset that then obviously everything got put on hold.
And support-wise at that point, with the clinic giving you counselling, did you have anybody else? I mean, were you in the Insta community at that point?
I wasn't, no.
Right.
And when we were going through all of this, I don't think there really was the Insta community that there is today. So I had a few friends that had been through it who I could speak to, but yeah, I was really low afterwards because I felt really disappointed that you have all your hopes pinned on something and then it didn't happen.
And what about your other half? How did he feel?
He was really good. He's very much more of just what will be,
Yeah.
And it wasn't meant to be that time, so, you know, let's just get better and we'll try again. So I think we waited 3 months and then we started the frozen cycle and then we got pregnant. So.
And how nervous were you starting the frozen cycle, knowing what the drugs had done to you before?
Not as, because I knew I didn't have to have my eggs collected.
Yeah, it's different stages.
But if I ever had to get to the point again where I'd have to have my eggs collected, I think I would seriously consider not doing it, just because I wouldn't want to go through that again. I know that they would be aware of it this time, but it would really put me off having to do it again. So yes, then after I had my daughter, I miraculously got pregnant naturally, which took me by surprise.
Yeah.
Because I didn't expect it would ever happen, and sadly 7 weeks later I had a miscarriage, and then I got pregnant again, which again was a surprise, quite quickly afterwards. And then we got to our 7-week scan and we had a heartbeat and everything looked as it should be, and I felt pregnant. So I thought, okay, we've got over the hurdle, because my previous 2 miscarriages had been at 7 weeks, so we'd got to 7 weeks, we'd had a heartbeat. Went to our 10-week scan and there was no heartbeat. And I had a miscarriage, which really hit me, because I hadn't fully believed that it was going to happen, because I don't think you ever do. But I had started to think, maybe this time we're going to come home with a baby. So to find out there wasn't a heartbeat was really difficult. And I was really low and I didn't really know what I was going to do, and I knew I had to pull myself together.
How old was your daughter at this point?
She had just turned 1.
Right, so really little.
Yes. So I had to be a mum. So I couldn't hide, I had to carry on. But I didn't feel like myself anymore. I felt like 5 years of being on this roller coaster and I'd lost myself and I didn't know what to do. So at the time I was reading Jessica Hepburn's 21 Miles and I felt hugely inspired by her attitude and her challenges, and I thought, wow, this is incredible, and if she can do something so positive out of something so awful, then I need to do something. So I downloaded Couch to 5K and I started running because I wanted to make myself feel better, and obviously hormones and fertility drugs and all of that, you put on weight.
So you've not really run before?
Not really, like on and off, but I wouldn't ever say I was a sporty person or someone who enjoyed exercise. That wasn't me. But suddenly I found this new passion that I never knew I had, and I just, every time I'd get to like, wow, I can run for 5 minutes without stopping, and that buzz when I'd get home, and I was like, wow. So I set myself the goal of getting to 5K, and my sister said to me, why don't you sign up for the half marathon for Tommy's? And I was like, oh no, I'm not ready, I can't do that. And I was like, what have I got to lose? Like, let's give it a go. Everything else has been far scarier.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'll give it a go. So I signed up and I got a place, and I was like, oh my goodness, now I'm doing
I'm
this.
committed.
I'm committed and I've got to do it. And I was like, how am I going to keep motivated? And if running makes me feel this good, then maybe I can help other women who have been in similar situations, because it's really isolating and it's really lonely.
Yeah.
And I can't be the only person that feels like this. So I decided to set up a running club, which everyone was quite astounded by, the girl who hates sports and exercise.
Brilliant. So when you say you set up a running club, what did you do first? Who did you go to?
So I set up an Instagram account and I set up a website, and I decided that we would launch our first run in Hertford in September, And
it's
then
2019.
Yes, 2019.
We're talking January 2020, so this is new.
Yeah,
really
it is
new.
really new. And I just started contacting people on Instagram to ask if they would like to come along and they would like to join me. And I'm lucky that in Hertford there's a really good social media presence and lots of women supporting each other. So through that community, loads of people helped me and supported me and shared it. And we had, I think, 25 women turned up to the first run, which
Brilliant.
I was absolutely shocked by. I mean, it was a dream come true, but I thought...
Had you planned the route well?
Yes, I had, yeah. Yeah, we're
just going to run, guys.
Yeah, no,
What I'm doing.
I know, I was trying to keep it, quite relaxed, but then I was like, oh my goodness, all these people are coming. I thought...
Did you have marshals or anything?
No.
No, so it was just
you've got
to stick with me and we'll see how we do.
So I normally do it, that me and my friend do it together. So I don't want people to feel they can't come if they can't run.
Yeah.
Because it's about getting out and meeting other people. So we normally check at the start who wants to run, who wants to walk, and then I go with the runners and my friend Gemma goes with the girls who like to walk, so no one gets lost or left behind. And we had a lovely run along the towpath along the canal, and it was just beautiful. And then we went back to a lovely venue and had cake, because that's our reward.
Nice.
So all of our runs always end with cake.
Great. Is that what you're doing at Tatton? You're going to the little cottages?
Yeah, we're going to have cake at Tatton. There's always got to be cake.
Oh yeah, definitely. So, okay, we've had a couple of months of doing it. Tell me where the different runs have been so far.
Yes, so obviously we had Hertford September. Then at the end of September we launched in Leamington Spa, and I have a lovely lady there who's carried that on, which is wonderful. And then in October we went to Richmond and we had a special run for Baby Loss Awareness Week, and that run we had 40 women came.
I saw that picture,
which
brilliant.
was astounding, and everyone had their Strong Girls t-shirts on, and it was really powerful, and it was such a lovely experience. And I think people are scared about coming along, understandably, because they don't know what to expect, and it's meeting people in real life, and it's quite daunting, and I appreciate that, but it's always really uplifting, because I think you just come away feeling like I'm understood, and I'm not the only person who has these thoughts and feelings. And although it's, the stories are incredibly sad sometimes, there's a power in being together and knowing you're not alone. And it's, it's really uplifting and really inspiring to see all these women together.
And I think, like you say, taking yourself into that real life situation, if you've met people online, and we've seen the power of the Instagram community and more in-person events that are happening, and the power of that community, coming together. I think it's amazing, and I think it's amazing that you're now kind of working your way around the UK, basically.
Yes, so that's the plan, to try and get round as many places as we can. So after Richmond, we went on to Windsor, and then...
Nice venues, choosing.
Yeah. And then we went to Brighton, and then we also have ladies in Sheffield who have set up a club there, and another lady in Bournemouth. So we're slowly growing, and it's just, it's remarkable, and it really means a huge deal that everyone has embraced this idea.
Yeah.
And they're on board.
And you're in Birmingham yesterday?
Yes, we were in Birmingham yesterday.
Okay.
So.
And then, so it's a Sunday in Manchester, it's so grey, and I woke up this morning, and we've got this conservatory where the rain sounds so loud on it, and I could hear the rain, and I sent you a message going, I'm so sorry, I'm in control of the weather here.
It's your fault.
But if you turn up somewhere and the numbers aren't that high, how does that make you feel?
At first, I felt really if we get 1 or 2 ladies turn up, then it's amazing. And then I thought I got a bit carried away, because, at Hertford we had 25 come. But actually, the ladies that come are the ladies that need it.
Yeah.
And that's all that matters. And it's not about numbers. And actually, when it is a smaller group, it's really intimate, and you get a chance to talk to everybody, because sometimes, when there's 40 women there, you don't get to speak to everybody, and I always feel bad that I don't get to chat to everyone. So it's quite nice when it's a small group, because then everyone gets to chat, and then I think that's helped to build little communities in different areas, and then those women stay in touch with each other. So I hope someone will turn up this morning.
Me too. I wish we could put this out live right now, but I will chat something on my Insta stories anyway. But the hope is that people, if they're doing it in a certain location, that they'll carry on, and you'll support them to do that.
Yeah, and that's my my plan that if people want to carry it on, then that's amazing. And then I just support them by advertising it on Instagram and then sharing it on my website so that people can find out what's going on closest to them.
So just say your Insta so people can follow, and if they've not already seen you, and,
yes,
and you've got some gorgeous rainbow stuff going on with your top. Are you going to be making some merchandise?
Yes, so we have an online, so I'm a mother of one on Instagram, and it's the rainbowrunningclub.co.uk, and we have an online store where we have some very sparkly rainbow and yoga running jumpers, leggings and t-shirts, and we donate £5 from each to Tommy's.
Amazing.
So, and they've been really popular, and it's great because when I turn up somewhere, people know who I am.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I was talking to Jessica Hepburn in the week, and she's getting ready to climb Everest in March, and we were having a big chat, and I'm hoping I can keep as close a tabs on her as possible. And I know that she will be, so thrilled that, her work, because how passionate she is about the support, and also kind of reaching you in different ways at different stages. And I know that she'd just be delighted to know that she was.
I actually got to meet Jessica on Friday, and we went for a run together. So that was a dream come true, really.
Oh, good. Because I was going to say,
she is really on board and really supportive.
Good.
So that's been amazing.
Oh.
And it was so lovely to be able to see her in person and to tell her how much of an impact her book had had. So.
Oh, I'm so pleased. Yeah. So I need to let you go to go and get ready. And if people want to get in touch, it's just the easiest way is really on Instagram.
Yeah, or they can email me via the website.
Okay.
Yes.
We'll put your email details in with this.
Lovely.
Well, good luck.
Thank you.
Have you got a number of runs that you're hoping to do for 2020?
No, not at the moment. I mean, we've got 10 events going on in January, which is amazing. And we're starting to do yoga events too.
Tell me a bit about them.
So we just felt like yoga really complemented the running and just the chance to reconnect your mind and body, because I think there's a lot of conflict between the two when you're going through infertility. And just a nice space to have some time out to relax. So we started yoga evenings in October. And today we're now going to announce that we're launching in Manchester and Brighton.
Is that with Northern Sky?
Yes, with Northern Sky. So really excited about that.
Okay, great.
And we've got a retreat day coming up in London and a retreat weekend. So hopefully loads of exciting things coming.
Oh, that's really exciting. Okay, cool. Well, watch this space. Keep me posted.
Yes, I will do.
And good luck today. I think the rain stopped.
Please.
The rain is. All we need now is, I don't know if I can promise sun.
Just no rain would be fine.
Rain will be fine. I mean, a little bit of rain is okay.
Yeah, but not
like horizontal.
No.
Well, Lucy, lovely to meet you. Thank you for coming to my house.
Thank you for having me.
And I'm sorry I can't come on the run, but next time I'll come and do the yoga in Manchester.
Yeah, that would be great.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I loved chatting with Lucy. She was so nice. And that top, I'll put a picture when I share the episode. You might have seen the tops that Lucy's made. They are like black with a lovely sparkly rainbow, and they just make you smile. What did you think?
Yeah, well, first going back to the tops, I thought they were lovely. I had a look, and she's also got a yoga one. And as I'm doing, and as we're both doing our yoga with Adrienne for January, I thought, I might treat myself to one of those. They're really nice.
Oh, I need to have a look because she has just invited me. They're doing a yoga retreat in February in London.
Amazing.
They've also announced, as you will have heard her talking about, doing some yoga in Manchester. So again, a lovely way to join like-minded people ultimately, and whether you can run that fast or not, it's just nice to be doing something outside that's active with people that get you.
Yeah, I just think it's such an amazing idea, because I know, a lot of people do group runs because they gain so much from it on a kind of a running level, and also the challenge and the fact that you feel really motivated when you're running with other people. So to combine that with the reasons that she's doing it for women to get together that have gone through a pregnancy loss, I just think it's such an amazing idea. I love the idea, and I really want to get her here. I want to go running with her.
She's not based too far from you, actually. She's in Biggleswade in Bedfordshire,
right.
She's not that far. You'll know that I pushed her a bit on the OHSS because I just think that more of us need to talk about it. And I know it's something that you're keen to just expand on a bit, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, my first time I ever came across a patient with OHSS was many years ago when I was working on a gynae ward. And I still remember it. This lady was suffering from severe OHSS. And I think it's something that term's banded around quite a lot, but I think there's still very much not known. It's not really discussed as to what that means, and particularly there's so many different levels. So the reason why OHSS starts in the first place is that obviously during IVF you're having your ovaries stimulated to produce lots and lots of follicles, and sometimes you can overstimulate, and there are people that have particular risk factors. So one, for example, is women with PCOS, because they will make many follicles anyway, and then you're overstimulating the ovaries further, so you can end up having too many follicles. And the important thing with OHSS is that women need to be monitored really carefully when they're having this type of treatment. And the reason why is because it is, or can be, in severe, and this is quite rare, but in severe cases it can be life-threatening, which I think is not necessarily known about too much. But kind of mild OHSS, many women will experience a little bit of that. They might notice some abdominal swelling, feel a kind of bit of discomfort and nausea. And then moderate tends to be even more swelling, quite extensive swelling in the abdomen, and can also go up to the chest, and you can end up kind of vomiting with that. But severe is extreme swelling. You've got so much fluid on the chest and the abdomen. It can result in problems with your kidney and liver, and like I said, can potentially shut down the organs and be life-threatening. So it is a serious condition for sure.
And it's something that I know Sarah from IVF Babble has shared her story. It's something that she experienced really badly. And it's also a previous conversation that I had with a fertility expert called Raj Mather, who's based up in Manchester. And I'll put a link to that conversation because I also got him to explain a bit more about OHSS. So if you are wanting more info, it's really good, though, to have you explain it, because I think... as you heard Lucy say, I mean, she had it pretty badly. And it must be so scary then to go through something like that and then try again, going through the IVF process.
Absolutely. I suppose with the worry that it's going to happen again. But I think just with IVF, when you have an IVF cycle, your doctors learn from that IVF cycle and maybe do things differently the second cycle. And it's the same with OHSS. If you've had it once before, they're going to be really carefully monitoring you. So the chances of it happening again are pretty remote, because you're going to be looked after a lot more to make sure that you don't run into problems.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the unknown, isn't it? Unfortunately, when you start out. And Lucy had also talked about how she'd miscarried. And I know that was something as well that you wanted to just talk a bit more about.
Yeah, I want to talk about the different types of miscarriage, because there are so many. And I think there's a lot of terminology that is bandied about and not really understanding it. Yeah. So if I start from the kind of the beginning and go the right way through. So the first one that I think is you hear about quite a bit on social media, because it is so very common, is a chemical miscarriage. And really that means that it's a term that's given to when a pregnancy ends in a miscarriage before the 5 weeks of pregnancy. Now, traditionally, we probably wouldn't have necessarily known, a woman wouldn't necessarily known at that point that she was pregnant. But because our pregnancy tests now are so advanced and so good at picking up early pregnancy levels of human chorionic gonadotrophin, then we find out a lot earlier than we probably would have done. So obviously that then causes women to feel very distressed, because they know that they have miscarried. And I think it's important to know that a chemical pregnancy is still a pregnancy, and so therefore it should have the same amount of attention given to it as far as grief is concerned as to any of the others. It still can be very difficult for many women. And the next one is a threatened miscarriage, and that's exactly as it sounds. It's when a woman might experience some bleeding or some pain, but if she was examined by her doctor, then her cervix and the entrance to the cervix, which is called the os, is closed, and that will either resolve and go on to have a normal pregnancy, or that might be the beginning of an early miscarriage. But a threatened miscarriage is very scary. I had one with my second baby when we were in Portugal at the time on holiday, and it was really worrying. Yeah. But obviously, luckily, it went on, and I had Archie, who's now 6'5" and 15, almost 16. And then inevitable miscarriages, again, as it sounds, it's inevitable. The cervix actually is open if you examine, so that the doctors will say, this is going to be a miscarriage that does occur. And again, with that, you'll be getting bleeding and probably some abdominal pain. Complete miscarriage means miscarriage has occurred. There's no pregnancy tissue left in the uterus. So effectively, you have completely miscarried. And then an incomplete means that the miscarriage has occurred, still got tissue remaining in the uterus. And again, you can have extended bleeding and pain with that. And often that would need to be resolved generally with some minor surgery. It's called an evacuation to retain products of conception, or a D&C is another word for it, because you don't want to have the risk of possible infection. That can be quite a difficult one for women to go through, really, as they all are, but that one, you know, because it's quite extended. And then the next one really that is again quite commonly talked about is what's called a missed miscarriage. It's now being called more a delayed miscarriage, because I think missed miscarriage is a bit confusing, and it's not a great name, I don't think.
I never understood it.
Yeah, it's a funny one. But that means when you have a scan and there's no heartbeat, the pregnancy symptoms might have started to disappear, or would start to disappear after that. Some women might get some bleeding, like some brown loss, but that is devastating, because until you go for your scan, you feel that you're pregnant, you know that you're pregnant, you go for your scan, there's no heartbeat. So it's a real shock, really horrible one.
So by them calling it a missed miscarriage, it's almost like it's saying you've miscarried, but you've not had the miscarriage.
Yes. It's not a great term. So I'm pleased to see that I'm seeing more and more delayed now terminology, which is much better. And then there's three others, which are again a bit confusing. An ectopic pregnancy is a pregnancy that occurs either in the uterus or sometimes on rare occasions outside the uterus. Commonly it occurs in the fallopian tubes, and it's where an egg has been fertilized in the fallopian tubes, and for some reason the pregnancy hasn't been able to continue down into the uterus to implant, so it starts to implant in the fallopian tubes. And clearly your fallopian tubes are tiny, so the pregnancy can't get very large before you start to notice maybe some pain. In severe circumstances, you can have some bleeding as well. And again, in very, very severe circumstances, it can rupture the fallopian tube and can be life-threatening. But again, that's very unusual. Molar pregnancy, that's where, this is an odd one as well. It's where the pregnancy doesn't develop correctly. It's quite a long follow-up with this one, because you can't conceive for about 6 to possibly even 12 months after you've had a molar pregnancy.
Really?
Because there's occasional risk of the molar pregnancy and the changes of cells during that pregnancy then going into the endometrium, the lining of the womb, and can, in rare occasions, cause a kind of cancer risk. So it's yeah. And then the last one is a blighted ovum, and that's where the sac develops. But there's no embryo, and it appears that the embryo has probably been reabsorbed back into the uterus as it didn't develop. So those are the kind of 8 odd words that are sometimes difficult to understand and know the differences between them all.
And one of the things we said at the start of this episode that Kate and I are trying to do is work out what you need as far as content, and we've realised that there's so many more conversations needed to be had around miscarriage, and we're working on a little mini series talking to some experts and some people that are sharing their stories. But if there's some of the different types that Kate's mentioned there that are the more unusual ones, and that's something that you've experienced and would like to talk about it with us, definitely do get in touch if you're comfortable. You can do it anonymously if you like, but I think what we're just trying to do is get as many different examples so people can hear people's experiences, because sometimes, as we still know, sadly, people aren't talking enough about this until it's too late, and then they're suffering, and often in silence, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that's why I'm really excited about our series on baby loss, because we've got so much great information to share, so many amazing resources. Hopefully it'll be helping our listeners as we go through it all.
Well, we'll be talking more about it, as we've said. For now, though, what we'll do is we'll make sure all of Lucy's details are on the show notes for this episode. Of course, you can get in touch with us. You can follow me at Fertility Poddy. And Kate, how can people follow you?
On Instagram at Your Fertility Journey, and also on Facebook on Your Fertility Journey.
Also, you can come and join our closed Facebook group, which is called Talk Fertility, where Kate is an admin there. And it's basically a place to continue the conversation. And we are hoping to do a bit more in there this coming year. Maybe Kate will pop up a bit more if I can book time in her busy schedule. But it's where you can ask more questions, and we hope to keep them answered if there's questions on the episodes that we've done. And it's just another place for you to come and be part of the community. Thank you, as always, for listening.
Please do rate, review, subscribe and share this podcast. We love hearing from you and knowing what you think. Thank you as always for your support, and until the next time.